Thank you all for coming out and being part of our Town Hall Tuesday in East Tampa. Before we get started and before I introduce everyone up here, I'd like to have our pastor, Cleet Sutton, who's our police department chaplain, come forward and open us up.
Well, you're right. God, we thank you tonight. We thank you for our gathering. We thank you for the command stand of the Ethics Department. We thank you for our city meetings, our mayor, city council that's represented here tonight, and all the citizens of East Tampa and all around our city. God, bless our meeting tonight. Let us be peaceful. Let us deal with the business at hand, oh God, with things that are going on in our community. We ask that you lead us and guide us in this. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen. God. Have to read that.
So these town hall meetings we started in the summer of 2023, and it's important to me as the police chief and my staff and my officers to get out in the community, and that's why we have these community town hall forums. Not only to know the police command staff, but also to know the officers that work in your area. So today with me, I have on my left Major Pat Mesper, who's of our Communications Division. And I had Major Eric B. Police, who is the commander in District 3. Wow. And Deputy Chief Ruth Kate, who's over operations. And to my right, Deputy Chief Mike Hudner. And then everybody knows as Deputy Chief of Community Outreach, Calvin Long. And then Les Richardson, who is the captain of... And also, if you all didn't see when you came in, we have our community outreach table with our community outreach officers out there. So if you didn't get a chance to stop by, on your way out, please stop by, introduce yourself. Corporal Gig Brown is in the back, if you could wave your hand. He's in charge of the community outreach officers. So I'm going to hand our mic off to each of our meanders, but we're not going to take up too much time because we want to allow that time for you all to come up and ask questions or provide comments. Give us any of your concerns. So I think that's very important that we allow enough time for that. So a few things that I do want to say is our mission at the Tampa Police Department is to reduce crime and improve the quality of life. But the most important part of that is working together to do that. And then that's basically what we want to do is work together and find ways to reduce crime together. It's the police can't do it themselves, the community member can't do it themselves. We all work together collaboratively, whether that's through us teaming up with code, whether it was through neighborhood enhancement, whether it's through other community leaders that are here, our council members, which Councilman Wayne Anderson is here. If anybody didn't notice, thank you for being with us. I do have Lee Bell, who's here for Campus Chamber of Commerce president. And then any other elected officials that I missed are in the audience. All right, and to you. So, at the police department, last year we had a great year. We reduced violent crime, and the firearm. Overall crime was down, but those numbers don't mean anything if you're a victim of a crime. We could tell you all day long that crime's down, but if your house was just broken into, if your car was broken into, or you were a victim of any type of crime, those numbers don't mean anything. And that's important, and we do recognize that. And one of the goals that I set forth is not just reducing crime by statistics, but reducing the fear of crime. And how to do that is to engage with the community more and know the officers that work your area and be able to have that rapport with them. And then hopefully soon, which we're working on a grant where we can get all of our officers with phones where you can even reach out directly to the officer through the phone themselves. So that's something that's on our priority list. I could go all day, we could take up all the time, but I do want to give everybody up here a chance to introduce themselves and a quick initiative that they're doing, and so we can move forward and hear from the community. So I'll be right back.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ruth Kate. Just a little bit about me. I'm starting already 28 years with the Tampa Police Department in October, so I was around my 28th year here. And I spent a lot of time as a rookie cop in East Tampa when it was Collegeville, Apostolio, and was part of the quad spy. Though a lot of people remember that. But I was fortunate enough to advance through the ranks, and here I am supervising operations. So all the control districts report to me. And one of the things that I'm happy the patrol districts do is every officer is a community-oriented detail officer. What does that mean? We want everybody to have a project within their zone to make their zone better. It doesn't have to be a very lengthy project, but the officers, it is part of their evaluation, need to come up with something to make it a little better. So maybe there's some problem with a traffic issue. I know there's going to probably be some conversation here about some noise complaints. So the officers will formulate a plan to work on those issues that you have. Maybe there's some loitering issues, anything that has to make their zone a little bit better, and that's what they're tasked with. So we are showcasing that, and we've had some really good community projects that went well above that. One of the officers here today created an initiative, and I know we've talked about before, Chief, many times. She goes into the schools and we do education. We also do education and teach some of our young people how to apply for jobs. And the program is called Shielding Our Teens. So it's about a 4 to 5 week program, and the officers go and they partner with some of the local high schools. And we teach the kids how to apply for jobs, practice doing interview techniques. And then we actually solicit vendors within the area. Some of the different employers that come to the meetings are Busch Gardens, Chick-fil-A, all in here for Chick-fil-A. But they come and they'll do real job interviews, and we're helping these get employed. So come summertime, they're employed. So we just finished up that program, so there's more information about that if you're interested. Officer Charnel Bader is here. That was a program she piloted. So that's kind of one of the community policing programs we're looking at. And there's more we could go into it more in depth if you have questions about it or afterwards. But that's what I'm working on as part of operations. So I will introduce to you the Major at District 3, which you just have Major D. Police, about what he's doing for efforts here in District 3 specifically.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. So first I'd like to say thank you for everybody coming out. I see plenty of familiar faces, and that's always a welcome sight. But I also see plenty of new faces. And that's one of the things we harp on here at these meetings is the next time you come, bring somebody who wasn't at the last time, or wasn't here the last time. So there are a lot of concerns, and we are committed to hearing all of your concerns. And I'd say if one thing that we have changed and made better efforts at in District 3 is that we're really getting out in the community. And when I say in the community, I mean in people's houses, meeting them on their level, hearing their concerns, seeing what they see. Captain Richardson and myself have made that one of our goals, to get out there more, to see what we can do to better serve the citizen in East County. So I won't eat up a lot of time. I will pass on the major message.
Hi everyone, I'm Patrick Vesper. I'm the major in the Community Criminal Investigations Division. So I'm over our homicide detectives, our special victims detectives. I have our crime gun intelligence unit, which uses a lot of technology to address some of our shooting offenses that have been going on. I've also got our digital forensics unit, our criminal tracking unit, which tracks sex offenders and career offenders, cold case unit. I have our forensics folks, our evidence section, and I've also got a group to go and manage some of the high-level narcotics investigations, not really a lot of the street-level stuff, but the stuff that kind of transcends different areas of the city, different counties, even sometimes other states as well too. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell what my division does. We're not, unfortunately, we're not as visible in the community as a lot of major D police folks are, because we are working a lot of these investigations that happen. One of the things that my division is kind of overseeing, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the CBI, or Community Violence Initiative grant that the city of Tampa got. Our main partner in that grant in the city of South Hillsborough And the goal of that grant, which is about a $1.5 billion grant, is to identify youth who are going to be prone to getting gun violence. Maybe they've been arrested for possessing a firearm, maybe they've been involved in the disciplinary system at school, and somebody identifies these youth as being prone to eventually go and pull a trigger. And the goal of that program is to get them involved with community partners to try to set them in the right direction, get them job opportunities, get them educational opportunities, job training opportunities, counseling if necessary, things like that. My detectives are good at solving the crimes after they happen, but unfortunately, once you pull that trigger and then you shoot and kill somebody, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to rehabilitate that person. He's going to prison at that point. So the goal of that program is to get to those youth before they pull the trigger, so they get on the right path and don't end up out of the work of a homicide or a shooting investigation involving that. So that's the goal of that program. We're kicking it off here very shortly, and we're excited about it. And that's how this.
Hello, everybody. I'm Deputy Chief Hudner. I appreciate everybody being out here. I know it's late in the afternoon, but it's great coming together. We want to hear your concerns. We want to work through them. We want to get the complaints. We're big adults out here, big men and women. We can hear them and understand them. We have somebody to take notes so we could go back in the community and make it better, because that's what we want to do. So I'm over investigation and support, so Major Mesmer reports to me, and including all those things he said, homicide, sex crime, and all those major crimes. We also have a violent crime unit. And we focus on people that commit the shooting, maybe. Because there's a small amount of people that actually pull the trigger. A lot of people carry guns, but there's a less than 1% of the people out there that pull the trigger. And we try to identify these people, and then we want to focus on them. We want to focus on the place. That's our main goal, focus on the people in the places, so there's less shootings out there in the community and everything, and we can make the whole community safer. And that's kind of our goal for the violent crime unit. And he explained homicide. We do know that there was a homicide the other day at 26 in Nebraska. Unfortunately, the large group that got together, they got into screaming, and they ended up shooting 2 people there that ended up dying, which is very unfortunate. And those are locations that we want to focus on. We know there's a lot of people hanging out there causing problems like that. Those are the areas that we need to know about. And sometimes we don't know about them. We need feedback from the community to tell us where these problems are. And we need people in the community that know what's going on in these groups that can come forward and tell us what's going on, so we can do something in advance, so it doesn't lead to a homicide. And I'll pass it over to Deputy Chief Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Calvin Johnson, Deputy Chief. I have 3 areas of responsibility. The first one is Special Operations Division. That's Air Service, CCK9, our Tactical Response Team, Patrol, all the tours that TPD has. The second one is like professional standards, which includes the criminal affairs and our policies, SOP, how we do with those that keep officers in mind following certain guidelines. The one I cherish the most is community engagement. I've been on 25 years, born and raised in Tampa. I know that the police department, we got a role to play in the community's health. Sometimes the role that we play in protecting the community, folks to prison. My job is to be proactive, trying to reach the youth, trying to work through nonprofits before it gets to that point. It's easy to make a mistake in 10 seconds to change your whole life. People are struggling out here and families. The most important thing to me is find out what that struggle is, find out what that kid needs to get to the help they need to stay out of the system. We have a power program that we cherish. It has a boxers program, basketball, flag football. We got a lot of youth out there. We have to keep them busy doing something positive. We talked about shooting our teams. That program is outstanding. To see a young man that has never worn a tie
and is able to get a tie, put it on, and show how to do it, and interview the same day, and learn interview skills that they're going to take the rest of their lives. The third one is the nonprofits. What I find is that the nonprofits are the ones who are working from the ground up. We're not going to do nothing unless we have strong nonprofits who have the resources and the knowledge to work with the families to give them what they need, along with the police department and other social services. So there's a lot that I do. I really embrace it. I understand in order to increase the community's health, it takes the entire community. So I am so glad that everybody's out here, and I see folks in the audience who have been in the struggle as far as trying to hold the fabric together for years. And I'm glad you're here today. You know who you are. I always deal with you. I'm glad you've come. For those who are new, I'm glad you're here. You can learn what we're about. Like Chief Burkhardt said, we're all about community. We cannot do this by ourselves.
Good evening. I am Captain Les Richardson. Know most of the faces in here, and there are a few new faces, so I'm glad to see that as well. I'm the old man of District 3. This is my 23rd year, and of that, 21 that have been in District 3. Even before it was District 3, it was District 2. So I've watched this East Tampa specifically grow leaps and bounds. What I consider to be my most favorable thing that I enjoy doing is dealing with people and dealing with the community. I tell all the officers under my command when I go to the roll calls, one thing I challenge them all to do is talk to somebody new every day. Now, you may have a great conversation, you may have an awful conversation, but you're going to learn something about somebody at some point. And at some point, you're going to need that information, or they're going to need to know that they can trust you. That's my voice, that's my mantra, that's what I've always done. I look forward to hearing from you all tonight. Thank you.
Has anybody been around long enough to know Officer Johnny Brown? He's retired now, but he was well known in the East Tampa community. Maybe, no? Well, I use him as an example for our young officers because the community all knew him by his first name and they all had his phone number. And the community members would call him and tell him that if something's about to happen, and he would be able to intercede and prevent something from happening. Or if he couldn't, they would actually say, well, I know we could just at that crime, even though it's a care. That relationship right there is community policing at its finest. And that's an example that we use to teach our officers. And I don't know if anybody had a chance, I did write a op-ed about gun violence and how it takes the whole village to come together in that. And in addition to that, it's young people being held accountable. And one of the things our police officers do, in addition to trying to get them on the right path, is if they're on probation and they have sanctions, we assist the Department of Juvenile Justice in ensuring that juveniles are home by their curfew. So there's proactive measures that we're taking on the whole time passes approach. And another part is responsible gun ownership. It's very important, responsible gun ownership. Last year, we had roughly 200 firearms that were stolen out of cars that were unlocked. And then those guns are getting in people that they shouldn't get into. So this is how it's a community aspect. And I wanted to talk about some of the things that we're doing to go above and beyond in that. We have our Project Lock and Unloaded, where we're providing free gun locks, no questions asked, at our 3 districts. And we just are announcing today that we're including 4 different library locations in addition for the community to come up and get those free gun locks. So it's just another measure of attacking everything out of a multifaceted approach. So I think at this point, we've got microphones on each side. So if you are interested, you can line up on either side. And the only thing that we would ask is if you would limit your comments to a minute or 2, so everybody in the room would have time to give their comments. And then I will either answer or pass the mic off to our subject matter expert. And if you're ready, you could just tell us who you are.
My name is Nancy Carraway. I lost my husband, Willie James Carraway. So that violence, he was an innocent bystander August 27th. And my concern is that the same group of young men that had the situation at Soho are the same group of young men that had a problem when my husband was murdered. What about the people that was, because of their same beef, what about those people that were murdered before my husband? I lost my husband, and then people after. So we all know who they are. So what is being done? Like, you all removed 23 guns out of word from them. So what is being done for us to start feel safe if it's the same group of young men from these two neighborhoods that are continuing to file? Also, sorry. And then you have talked about the programming that's helping the youth that start to display that they're in trouble. But what about putting in programs to start early on with these children before they even start to get into any type of trouble, to try to detour them from them versus waiting until they're starting to show some type of sign? And then at these meetings, it would be nice to have the officers who work in the neighborhoods, because it's great to have relationships with you all and talk back and forth, but what about the officers that are out here working? Those are the ones that are out here with the community members all the time. And it's important, I feel like, for the community to be able to have a chance to have a conversation with them at these meetings as well.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to address a little bit, and I'm going to hand it off to Major Messmer and then Deputy Chief Johnson. And I know we do have at least Sergeant here, and I'll let Major DeFelice said that, who else is here that works this neighborhood. But you bring out some great points, and I'll start out with saying is this is where the community comes in, is somebody could point out something to us, and doesn't necessarily mean we have the ability to take action. We need reasonable suspicion or probable cause to take action on something and actually stop and detain somebody, which arrest somebody. And a lot of that comes from somebody out there that witnesses that, or video, and that's when we're always out saying you saw something to tell us, or you heard something to tell us, or video. And I do sympathize with you, and every person that committed any serious crime, especially a murder, we want to put in jail right away if I'm hold accountable. And sometimes the evidence is there to do it, and sometimes we're still working on it. But that's where everybody, and I think it's important for people to realize that they can provide us tips, even anonymous tips, through Crime Stoppers and get a reward. And that may even be enough for us to get that probable cause. So I'll hand the mic to Major DeFelice if you want specific about what is happening in District 3, and over to Deputy Chief Johnson to talk about some of the programs for the younger youth.
So we are always looking for opportunities to grow with the younger youth, and we realize that reaching them at a younger age has been a benefit them throughout their whole lives. So some of the programs, our PAL, our Rich House, those have been ingrained in the TPG DNA for years. But we do some out-of-the-box things. For instance, we've adopted a school that is over 20 Metro Lake area in the old CDC building. So what we've done there, it's a smaller school. We've gone out there, they don't really have the chance to come outside and participate in athletics. So we sponsored a basketball game, and TP, myself included, got out there, ran around way too long, and played basketball with the youth, giving them that opportunity to not only get out and get some athleticism in, but also forge that bond with us. It was an overwhelming success, and we have grown that partnership into, now we're taking them to Busch Gardens, we're chaperoning the whole event, and we're also reached out to our friends with the Tampa Bay Rays to see if they can sponsor a game so they can go. So it's that type of outside the box thinking that is going to lead us in the next generation to bigger and better things. So we have police personnel that are here for District 3. One of them is Sergeant Ferguson back there. She is in the back. She leads up one of our FTO squads, and that is a super important job because she trains the incoming POs. And Charnel Baker is here running around here. She's the one that's responsible for showing our team. She's like world famous now. She's all over there doing circuits, talking to people, because what she has done with her program is nothing short of a miracle. and she's doing great things, and every year that program is growing by leaps and bounds. And what we can do, this is a very large format, thick setting, but what we do, and we do a lot of these for front porch roll calls, and many in this room have been the beneficiary of that. And we'll bring out the squad that works in an area, and we'll dedicate that time. They'll come to you. We'll do whatever roll call information we have to pass along, and then we meet with whatever group asks us out there. We break up into small groups. We ask questions, and we get to know each other on a personal level. And we see a lot of success with that, and that's something that we could set up for anybody who's interested.
And then to add on to some things that Major DVD said, we deal with the youth on a daily basis, whether it's the school resource officers in middle school and high schools, talking with the youth, mentoring the youth, whether it's going to read book contests with the youth at elementary schools, whether it's just joining programs in Little League football, having officers go out there helping with the youth. There is no shortage of what the police department is doing trying to help out the youth. We even partner with Parks and Rec, who have almost 19 parks in the city of Tampa. We have officers go by there. There is something for the youth to do on a daily basis. One thing that we need, and I want to try and address a question back here, it comes down to parents participating with the youth in these programs, bringing them there, taking them there, bringing them home. If a bus picks them up, get them to the bus stop, give them an avenue to come to the location. When it comes down to cases, I want you to understand it's one thing to hear that somebody did something, to hear it through the grapevine. It's one thing to talk to your cousin or your friend and y'all know who did something. The fact is, when it comes down to holding somebody accountable in the court of law, somebody has to testify. Somebody has to go to that state attorney's office and say, listen, I'm an eyewitness. I got concrete evidence that this is the person that done that shooting. You see, part of our society is everybody gets a bond. Everybody that gets arrested is not going to stay in jail. They get a bond. They got the right to. But what we're finding hard in law enforcement is when we have these shootings, when we have these violent crimes go on, and people know who did it, they get conflicted because sometimes it's somebody who they know who is the perpetrator. They already lost somebody else who they know, and in their mindset, they don't want to lose two people. So they're not going to come forward to testify on the person who they know did that violent act. But they're not thinking about the community as a whole. You're never going to uplift a community. You're never going to get this violent crime off our streets if sometimes you don't hold the ones who you know, who you love, and who you cherish accountable for their violent acts. That takes courage. It takes loving your community. And that's what it comes down to. There's a process here. The police are not the end all to the process. We need folks to be, I call it, a part of the marathon. That means follow this case until wherever that perpetrator is gets time in prison.
Started.
Yeah. How they bring this down. What I'm coming to say is I'm just seeing a lot of stuff happening now in our neighborhood that, gosh, it seemed like some of this stuff got moved a while. I can tell you, I've called in the intersection of 26th Avenue and Nebraska forever. You know, like you can call up my phone number and see how many calls I logged. I called about Burrell Park. I've kind of left that to North Ybor now because we have so many issues down in Ybor. And it's like you can almost predict where violent crime is going to happen based on the loitering or whatever. I'm wondering if the city could enforce the ordinances a little more strongly. I do not believe you're allowed to live in a park or stay there all day long or bring your chairs or you know, and then the trash accumulation, everything happens because it's like the area I'm in, when you see the parents doing it and the, you know, friends doing it, and you see garbage everywhere. I don't know, we're creating an environment that is not going to help these children see anything different than what is 2 blocks up and 2 blocks down. Every area 9,000, I keep wanting to say that, 26th Avenue and Nebraska Avenue, they have green stickers posted on that strip mall. And I know that if it's during the day and the store is open, that they have to call in. Those people, I'm sure, in that corner store, going to that Caribbean Cafe or whatever's down there, they don't want those people loitering. That's why they have the green stickers. Can we change how that is enforced? Because if I read the statute that's written on it, it seems like you are going to act on their behalf. It doesn't say, oh, when the building's closed, when this and when this. Make it a yes or a no. You either want no one to loitering outside, or you want everyone to loiter outside, and let's have that responsibility. And then maybe have to go through nuisance abatement. They should not pick and choose. I think it should be enforced across the board 24/7, because all those places that are allowing that loitering, like Sunoco, nuisance abatement, there have been no shootings there or beatings or anything since that order has been in place, although they're getting a little bit out of control right now with garbage and stuff like that. But, you know, it works. Enforce it strongly, and I think you would reduce the crime in those specific areas. And we do call in all the time for those locations, and I don't see it changing, and it's just basically.
No, thank you for the comments. And basically, what you said is quality of life concerns, addressing the small things before they become big things. And I'm sure many of you have heard of road windows theory. That's basically the same thing as what Kelly was talking about. And Major D. Felice is revitalizing some initiatives with some best practices in that area, and I'll let him comment briefly on this.
Yes, so a lot of what we're hearing is quality of life concerns, and they're not the criminal side of things, so it adds an obstacle or a layer of difficulty to get long-lasting results. We hear the concerns. We are dear friends. I get calls all the time. I see them. I live in the neighborhood, so I understand what Cut is complaining about. I too am complaining about, and I see the same things. So we're shifting, because if we were to go in with a criminal mindset, and that's what we're going to address, we would not have good results. So we're changing that mindset. We have Andy Washington, who is our quality of life detective, who's working wonders. He's great. And we're going in and we're trying to hit it with a holistic approach. We're pulling in our partners, code enforcement, the clean team, and trying to see what we can do. We're also looking at exploring some different options. So we have the public nuisance abatement board, and we're trying to, typically that has been not reserved, but utilized for businesses. But we're starting to see a lot of vacant lots, which are attracting attention, and we're trying to see if we can adopt a principle or model that has been employed by Miami, using affidavits from citizens to generate the referral to start the process. And if we can do that, we'll make great strides in dealing with some of these properties. Obviously, having the support of the business owners is great, and Sunoco is a great example of what can happen when somebody gets hit with a referral and they decide to acquiesce, get in and work with the Tampa Police Department and the surrounding community. We had great results. We have to continue with that momentum and keep it up, because one of the areas that we need to address is the homelessness around there, and we're doing it. What I'd like everybody to understand too is displacement theory. When we go in and we hit an area hard, like Burrell Park or some other 26th Street, when we go there and we displace those people, they're going to go somewhere. And if we continue to enforce those laws and go there and have an officer sit in the 900 Watt 15th Avenue, because that's the new hangout. We enforce it as best we can, and we'll continue to do so. The philosophy is changing, and we're supporting the officers, educating them more, and working more closely with Detective Washington to try to implement some of those strategies that will be best suited to see long-term results. Thank you. We're next.
I'm with Sean Timms with 813 Stop the Violence. Yes, I hear it. Great job. Good job. I hear all the good things that you do in the community for the kids and stuff, but we got some kids that don't get that chance to deal with Tampa Police Department. 12, you know, as the kids call them. So we talking about these kids that are showing up places, that's committing crimes. I'm talking about from April the 21st to now. We had so many killings here in Tampa, and we have yet not one arrest. The one killing that happened on Nebraska, yeah, we got the guy. Thank you, good job, Tampa Police Department. But we have multiple killings in Tampa. We had a young lady who killed her daughter. We heard nothing about it in the community. We need to know, what about our community? We're not talking about just E-boy. I hear a lot of stuff here on TV and on the news about E-boy. We hear that. It's bad what things are happening in the E-boy, but it's a lot of things that are going on in East Tampa where I live at, Like here, April, we got May. We got too many killings here. So what are you doing in our community to help stop the crime? This is for you, Chief, sir.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you said that, because after what happened in Soho, the pressure was on to cancel this meeting and have a meeting over there. And I said, no. I said, this was already scheduled, and we're coming to East Tampa because we want to hear from the community in East Tampa. So that's a priority of mine from hearing from everybody, and that's why we're here tonight. And exactly what you're saying is 100% dead on. And anything we will do, and part of that is having that relationship where you can call me directly or you can call the officer directly, working it. We all want to make Tampa safer, and we need to do it together. And Captain Richardson could probably talk about some specific initiatives in Sector E that he's working on.
Thank you.
So, Sector E encompasses East Tampa. It's basically everything north of the interstate, and it's a sector that has had a lot of ups and downs. Right now, we are actually seeing a lot of the violent crime that we're talking about, and we're talking about these homicides. Sean, we've had many discussions about this type. I think what a lot of it comes down to is the teamwork. Like the chief says, the safer together. I see the same faces in these meetings, saying the same things, and I'm having the same conversations with the same people. I need as much as I possibly can, and that's why I have my officers go out and talk to other people. And this is a partnership. The chief has said it many times, it's 400 citizens to every one officer in the city of Tampa. I can't be there all the time. I can't do it all the time, but I do need that help. We're doing a lot of foot patrols in Belmont lately. A lot of people, and we don't brag about that. That's just something that I feel we need to do. I'm going to get the ability for my officers to walk on the lake. Deputy Chief challenged me over a year ago to fix lake, to change the lake, what I call retake the lake. And I've seen the difference. 2-9 lake is nothing like when I came onto this department, and anybody who can tell me it is, I'll gladly have that long conversation with you afterwards. But I think what we need to do is understand that when these officers are out, it's okay for you to talk to them as well. It's okay for you to ask those officers questions, just like I am challenging my officers to talk to you all. Let them know what your problems are. We shouldn't have to come to a setting like this to get the problems out. Those officers are there in your community every day. Like I said, I've been in East Tampa for 21 years of my 23 years career. I am invested in East Tampa. I have spent more time in East Tampa than I have with my family. I have a lot going in riding my East Tampa, and it hurts me too, Sean. I'm going to be really, really honest with you. But I see the same problems merging their heads over and over, where we have a tendency to not want we want someone to do it for us, and we're afraid to sit up and say, let me at least talk to the officer and tell the officer what my problem is, because maybe he can help. That is what I look for. I see Mr. Johnson in the back. He's one of those that will sit here with a bullhorn and tell us what his problems are. And I'm okay with that, because then I know what I can address. And I feel the same way for my officers. It is imperative that we have that two-way communication and don't just simply rely on the department, where we will do everything we can, but we cannot do it alone.
Thank you.
And I'll just say, there's a lot of accountability up here. There's nothing that goes on that these commanders in these specific areas don't know about. If there's something that goes on in East Tampa, Major D Police is called, Captain Richardson is called, whether it's a murder or it's a theft, it doesn't make a difference. They know about everything that's going on crime-wise in this area, how to fight the crime, what to do, who's out there, who's working what shift, and they are in constant communication with them. It could definitely get better, and this is how it starts, everybody coming together, tell us your issues. But I promise you that we're out there working, we're hitting the right spots, we know the issues, we just need everybody to come together to help us. Because we're doing what we can to stop this violence, and the issues with your husband on Nebraska, you're right, there are certain gangs or neighborhood affiliations around Tampa area that we have identified, we know who they are. Unfortunately, we can't just go out and throw them in jail. We have to have some case on them and have some investigation into them to be able to put them in jail and lock them up so they can't get out and shoot. Because like I said before, there's only a small percentage of people that are pulling the trigger. And it happens to be the same small percentage of people. And those are the people that we want to get, with people's help, put them in jail, and then as his initiatives are, to get the youth going in the right direction.
Good evening. I want to thank you all for this town hall this evening. I'm not going to still hold with keeping prior to your meeting here tonight. I'm Fran Tate, Just Neighborhood Association President. I have a few things. I would take for the minute, but I'd like to open them there fast. The first is, I don't want to take credit for this. I want to give credit to the young lady that brought to my attention. Ms. Ela McCaskill brought to my attention. What about officers purchasing homes in the East Tampa area? Maybe a builder or the city can come together with whoever, and maybe you guys offer incentives for them to actually live in the community, park their vehicles in the community. That really sets the precedence. I think it'll really help the crime, because once you guys are here, or whoever the officers are, I really feel like things will slow down and things will stop, because they're not knowing what you guys are watching. Are you on duty? I see a car there. It's like in your apartment, don't it, cars? We slow down. We're speeding on that street. We see that car sitting over there. We don't know it's a dummy car, but we slow down. We break the speed, and we no longer breaking the law by speeding. I think it would have the same effect if you all would come together with a plan, with builders in the city, to allow officers to purchase homes at a fee. No exorbitant fee, but at a fee that they can afford the house, they can live in the community that they serve. Also, when you talk about the programs for kids, I want to suggest that you adopt Potter Elementary School. Jackson Heights Neighborhood Association is there now, and we are assisting second and third graders with division and reading. So maybe you guys could, assign a few officers to come in and periodically throughout the month have a reading roundtable and meeting with them, and that will open their eyes to you all, build a relationship, and who knows, some of them might want to go over to police officers. You never know. When you talk about reporting crime, neighborhood associations, some of us in the community and neighborhood association, we kind of know a little bit about what's going on because people talk to us. But when we report it to you all and we have to come forward, that's when the fear takes hold. Retaliation is real. Yes. It's real. Jackson Heights had a situation, we came forward and we reported an area, a store where crime was taking place for years and years. We thank you all for fixing it up. We thank that whatever that the court system that they have to go to, we thank them. We no longer have an issue there. They are actually a neighborhood association. They're not members, but they attend each and every meeting that Jackson Heights Neighborhood Association holds. They respect us now. We respect them now. Deputy Chief Johnson was very instrumental, and so was Major League Police on that bonding. We ain't kissing cousins, but you guys are very instrumental in bringing us together. And whatever extra stuff you did, it worked. I just want us to as much as possible to clear up the crime over here because we are decent citizens that want to live a decent and safe life. We want to live productively. We want our kids, when they finish college, come back to Stanford, come back to the neighborhood and serve. It won't happen until we can get this kind of cleaned up a little bit better than it is. But I thank you all for what you are doing and for the success of the relationship on 28 around Sly and 34th Street. That was extremely serious. That was serious. But I want to express adopting a reading roundtable at these elementary schools and also really seriously think about bringing officers into the community, purchasing homes, and really seriously think about that, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tate. And I'll tell you, a lot of things resonated with me, but most importantly is a lot of those initiatives were successful because you stood up and you made a change. So thank you for doing what you did in your community to help us. And the officer program, that's a great idea. Actually, I was thinking about that, and it's something we had discussions on, and obviously funding and taxpayer dollars is an issue. And in Atlanta, the Atlanta Police Department has a foundation that actually purchases houses for officers to live in the inner city. So that's a great way to do it, even if it's not taxpayer dollars. There's a foundation out there that helps. So it is definitely something that we want to look into. And I just want to throw in a quick plug. We are in a major hiring phase right now. We are recruiting heavily, and we want officers that were born and raised in Tampa to come work for us. And we put out a great recruitment video. If there's anybody you could pass along the information, we'd love for community members to apply. We do 2 academies a year now, before it was 1, where we will pay your entire salary while you go to the academy, and we'll pay your tuition. And if you pass the academy and pass the state certification test, then you'll be promoted from police recruit to a police officer. So please share that word, share with anybody that you know might be interested. If it's not a police officer, we're hiring dispatchers, forensics investigators, and you can still get involved at the police department, even if you don't want to be a police officer. And I like the idea of Potter, and there's another program that Deputy Chief Tate talked about with Bigs and Blue.
So a lot of our officers are already at elementary schools, so you may not see them as a group. I am one of those officers as part of the Bigs and Blue program. We partner with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. My little is at elementary school, and we've been partnered for 2 years now. I got her when she was 6 years old. She is adorable, and it's the best part of my week when I get to go and see her at her school. We work on her reading and her math. One of the other things that we've done with some of the elementary schools and some of the older schools is that we partner with them usually twice a year. We do our shop with a cop, and then we also shop with them around Christmas time. So we don't let them shop only for themselves because we know that there's a lot of things they need. Because sometimes when the kids shop, they want to buy groceries. We'll find another way for them to buy groceries. We want them to buy clothing for themselves. But we also want them to buy, especially again, for someone who's important in their life. So we're teaching them, it's not just about you, it's about sharing the responsibility with someone that you love. So we have a very big, robust partnership with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and we'll keep asking the officers. There's more officers involved, and if you see the stories before, I think Mayor Pastor's little that she had when she was a police officer is now a mother herself. So these relationships last well into adulthood, and I'm looking forward to have my little in my life for a long time.
So.
Good evening, everybody. Really appreciate you guys coming out and doing these. My name is Derek, and I'm a member of Rise Up for Peace with Jay and Trish. Do stuff with Nikki with Country Connections and 813 Stocky Violence. But I have more of a statement and a question over them. We had 2 deaths and apprehensions in Ybor. We had ultimate shooting on the Riverwalk where people were shot in apprehensions. And people know y'all gonna apprehend somebody in the Soho district. You know that's gonna happen. And then we had 2 double homicides going 26 in Nebraska, which I'm glad you guys, jumped in on that. But I just want to know, is the SOP the same when y'all investigating all of these murders from neighborhood to neighborhood? Because I've lost 2 people, you know what I'm saying? Year before last, I lost on Tep side. We know multiple people did, and we have nothing. And I lost my nephew in a club where I know it was 100 people or so there 8 years ago, and we have nothing. So I just want to know if these investigations homogeneous across the board, because we don't hear nothing but as soon as we hear, in high-profile areas, we hear arrests being made, and we see a lot of TV coverage. So I just want to know doing. And I have a question for one of my listeners. And I think y'all answered it with the, are we doing any individual programs for kids in the summertime? Just to stay on top of them. Because that's what we do with our group. We try to get kids early, you know what I'm saying, and cut this stuff out. And then my last statement is, y'all keep saying these guns coming out of cars. And I don't know if these cars are being broken into, but if they're not being broken into and they open them, I think y'all need to charge them $1,000 every time that happens. And that's
Great points. We'll start at the end. There was a bill in the Florida State Legislature about holding gun owners responsible for cars that they get through. So that's something that if you all are passionate about, you could pass that along to your representative. And in addition to that, as far as the cases, it's a fair question. It's a fair question to ask. And yes, our SOP is the same, and we have weekly crime meetings in each district, and we have a weekly violent crime meeting where we discuss the intelligence. And I would like the debate between Major Messner and Deputy Chief Johnson, or maybe both, to answer that question. But it's our job, first of all, to prevent them from happening in any way that we can, and then solving every single one. So, do you want to go first?
And you'll have mine.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. And I would say, especially talking about the one from 26 in Nebraska, we had that solved in a matter of a couple hours. And the reason for that was because of the cooperation from the community. 100% because of the cooperation from the community. We had good video, we had witnesses, we had people willing to identify the shooter, and we had people willing to watch the video and identify the shooter. And that is 100% why it was solved that quickly. If we had to rely on forensics, DNA, prints, potentially other types of ballistic evidence, that stuff would still be pending at the lab. The same thing with the shooting at Armature Works. There was a lot of cooperation that occurred, and that's why we were able to charge so quickly. Ybor, that shooting down there was a very different situation because we had such a large crime scene and so many people shot. But we actually struggled to get some cooperation in the Ybor shooting. We eventually were able to, and we were eventually able to solve that. Without that cooperation, I don't think we would have made the arrests in the Ybor case that we made. I know we would have probably made one that night based on the quick apprehension from the officers, but that other arrest really hinged on cooperation from the community. And I understand this Tate's comments. There are people out there who are concerned about the potential for retaliation, and I realize that's a real concern. We're not going to release to the public the name of a witness in any kind of investigation. There have been cases in the past, and I worked years ago, where we had people who did cooperate. They were in a housing complex that was run by the Tampa Housing Authority. They were concerned about retaliation. We were able to get them moved to a different residence. There are things, every situation is different, so I can't promise anything, but there are things we can do to do what we can to minimize the potential for retaliation. But that, cooperation is the key. We have a lot of informants. We get a lot of these tips from our informants. We get postings on social media, a lot of this chatter that happens between these different groups. And that's great. However, without an eyewitness, it's very, very difficult for us to be able to make a case on a social media post or on what's the word on the street. Now, what we can do, and what we do in some of these situations where maybe we're not going to be able to solve the murder, immediately because we don't have that evidence, but we have a very good idea of who the shooters are, and we know the shooters like to go around and carry guns. We'll give that information to Major DeFelice, and his plainclothes units can kind of focus on those individuals, maybe catch them at a traffic stop, catch them in possession of a gun. We can charge them with felon in possession of a firearm, illegally possessing a firearm, things of that nature. So we do use other means if we can't immediately solve a homicide, and we think we have a good idea of who did it, to try to identify those individuals and get other criminal charges on them as well. And a lot of that also is the work of the state attorney's office. We just had a case successfully prosecuted, I think it's going on 2 months ago now, from some of these neighborhood groups that were involved in the shooting in another part of the city. And the victim who was shot, he didn't want to cooperate. He refused to come to court, but through some creative work with the state attorneys and our detectives, we were still able to get somebody a 20-year prison sentence on that shooting, even without the victim cooperating, because the victim cared about retaliating. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we could do to try to make an impact on the gun violence. But I wish that more people felt like they could cooperate without the fear of retaliation. We've had cases where we have parents telling their kids specifically not to cooperate, and then unfortunately those kids become the victims themselves, and then the parents are in front of a camera and they're begging the community to cooperate. So I understand it's a very very unfortunate situation that people are in fear of retaliation. We will do anything that we can legally do with the police department to try to prevent that from happening. And I know our state attorney is very, very serious about prosecuting any cases of any kind of a witness or victim harassment or intimidation.
Thank you.
I want to add one thing for Major Vesper, for the gentleman that just spoke. I think you're talking about Club Rain. That's where your nephew. So we still work cold cases. We didn't forget. I didn't forget that night. I was out there all night, all morning for that investigation. Please call us. Please call Crime Stoppers if you have a tip. Any of those cold cases, we will still work them. Call the non-emergency line, or you can still call a homicide. That's still very much an open investigation, and he's not forgotten.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And my name is Dave Coleman, and I was delighted to hear before the meeting started that there's going to be a Connect and Detect program. I must have missed the first announcement about that, but I've been asking for 2 years for some type of a call program like St. Pete has, and I'm just absolutely delighted that the department is moving towards creating that, and maybe other people don't know that it's coming soon, and maybe somebody can address that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that last Thursday, as I was leaving City Hall, I was talking to a couple of officers, and I was really concerned because we were talking about what happened at USF, and at first it was like nobody wants that to happen, but at the end it was, but we gave them a warning. So my question is are you normalizing gassing and rubber bullets? I remember 4 years ago when the organized Florida women created an event at Cyrus Green, and people were leaving the park and doing a march in the street, and little children were gassed. And very quickly, TPD said, we're not going to do that because you stopped. I don't know who said you're not going to do it, but you stopped doing that. And are you normalizing gassing protesters and using rubber bullets? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, so try to go in reversal order. I don't want to speak for the agencies that were out there making decisions. We weren't there. But I can tell you in general terms that the important for us first is anybody's First Amendment right to protect it, but then the safety of everybody involved, including those that are protesting, including the others that are around, and the police officers. So in our situation, safety will be a paramount decision-making process. And whatever we can do to minimize it with the least amount of force is always our goal. And then Deputy Chief Johnson, if you want to speak on the Connect and Protect.
Thank you. So that's a program that we have because a lot of calls that we go on are mental health calls, where the police officers don't need to be out there in the forefront dealing with those calls. It's folks who are having mental issues, they need counseling, they need their medication to be talked to them. Well, when those calls come in, they're going through dispatch. A lot of our dispatchers aren't up to speed on how to handle of our communications to our training out of state. They came back, they let us know what the program was about. We're hiring people to strictly work the calls that engage mental health crisis, to get the person the help immediately before an officer even gets dispatched out there. They're getting recommended services where they need to go, where they can go to get the help that they need. If an officer still needs to go out there, they will. But understand the majority of these calls do not require an officer going out there. Right now, we currently have a behavioral health unit. The unit is an officer and a nurse practitioner that deals with mental health. Currently, they do deal with calls when both of them go out there. They also do follow-up, making sure folks who dial 911 and we go out there and we assist them, that we follow up with them to continue the services that they need. I wanted to touch on a previous comment because it's very important. I understand when it comes down to being afraid of retaliation, when it comes down to holding folks accountable. But just imagine how far we've come as people dealing with responses that we knew would come, but we were fighting for justice. These are our neighborhoods. These are our sons and daughters and teenagers who we're trying to hold accountable. So if you're afraid of retaliation on the back end after something happens, we have to put 120% on the front end, making sure that our teenagers, they know what to do, what not to do. We got a village looking after them. They got the support they need. Our single mothers out there where the father's not there, they got the support they need. Because we all know that when our kids become teenagers, I don't care if you're a good parent, you're gonna mouth off. My own son does. I'm deputy chief. And I gotta get him straight as my son, not as my friend. But I set that foundation with him and I hold him accountable as my son. He's representing me. So we have to understand something. If the reality is this, if we're not gonna put the work in with our loved ones early on, and sometimes it's tough love, it's letting them know because your father's not here, you don't showcase on your mother. Your mother loves you. We have to have those tough conversations because once that 10 to 12 second comes and they make that decision, if you choose not to get involved in holding them accountable, I don't want you to think that they're going to stop that bad behavior. The majority of them, they're going to push the envelope. They're going to go for that petty theft. They're going to push the envelope unless that parent snatches them up and says, that's not good. They're going to push the envelope. So to me, the key to all of the issues that are going to be a challenge is to be proactive. If you're going to leave it up to police officers, there's only 1,000 of us. 1,000 of us. There's 400,000 residents and there's more coming every day. If you're looking at us to solve the problem by ourselves, that's not going to happen. We want to be part of the village, of the community, and uplifting the help of the community. But we need good partners who want to help us out and raise the level of our life in the city of Tampa.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Denise, and I live in Cary. I wanted to add to a lot of the things that were said today by the panel. Actually, I come from a big city, and unfortunately, I've been a victim of many crimes. And I was also raised, not to say anything. I'll give you a quick story. When I was 9 and my little sister was 7, we witnessed a murder right next door, all us kids. And the first thing that we were told was, don't say anything, go in the house, And my little sister, she said something.
And I remember my family being quite upset because we were afraid of the retaliation. I'm going to tell you right now, nothing happened to us. We're here today. Secondly, you know, another thing that was said is you know, if you see a crime, going the whole way and going to court, because without a victim, there is no, your person is not staying in jail. Yes, these people get bonded, they get out of jail. I was once a victim of a crime where at 8 o'clock in the morning, I was held up at gunpoint and I was robbed, and I was almost shot because the gun was pulled back and it was just the hairline trigger from being you know, shot off. And all I kept thinking was, are any of my neighbors seeing what's happening to me right now? And I kept thinking, I hope somebody sees and is calling 911. And sure enough, my neighbors were seeing. That morning, these two gentlemen had stolen a vehicle, did a home invasion, tied up an entire family. They found me, they robbed me, they shot at a lady at a bus stop, and they were shooting at the officers. They later came to pick me up and took me to the scene of the crime to identify some of these perpetrators. And I went to court. I lost time from work, but I did continue to go to court because my whole thing was, if these people can do all of that crime in such a little bit of time, you know, I could have easily been shot that morning. Those officers were almost shot that morning. The lady at the bus stop almost died. And if I didn't go to court, those guys would have been right back in jail. And I say that as a testimony because everybody in my neighborhood complains about one particular person. And this person, from my knowledge, has been in and out of jail a few times. I guarantee you nobody's holding him accountable. So until we say something, we actually do something about it, it's going to keep happening. And I come from those big cities where these crimes, I mean, I love that this police department actually wants to work with the people. I come from the city where police don't want to work with the people, where they've just been, I hate the word, cramped on so many times that they don't know how to work with the people. So if we don't foster this relationship now, I don't know what's going to happen in 5 months from now. Thank you.
Thank you. And great points. And I think what resonated with me is if you haven't been a victim of a crime, you don't know how traumatizing it is to be a victim of a crime. And last year, we recognized that and added a victim's advocate here at the police department. Santana's her name, and she's out there providing a plethora of resources. I don't have the exact number, but I think it was like 180 to 200 victims that she's provided services to in just in a year. So, you know, it's unfortunate that you had to go through that, but now we have more resources to assist victims. So thank you for calling us.
Well, mine is pretty much a statement. I used to be very annoyed with my grandmother because she was a very slow cooker. And I just felt that if I could get in that kitchen and cook, I could move the process faster. So she gave me that opportunity until we came out of trouble. And I wanted to say that because I think the way we dealt with police in the Black community has not been a good experience. We've done some things that has been wrong. Now maybe we can see it a little bit different because you guys, between the fire department and your department, you eat up 60% of the city budget. But this community looked to you to solve the problem, and it's not going to be solved that way. Right now, we got elders in our community that sit at McDonald's all day because there's not a spot in this community where they can just gather. Where do young people go and play pool, the bowling, and anything? All of those type of amenities have left our community, right? And so we have young people loitering on the street. We got too many young fathers that got felonies, they can't get a job. Their first choice of crime was marijuana, and we got dispensaries everywhere in our community. And so I don't expect you to solve the problem. The community got to solve the problem. This community has to demand more resources to come into this community so we can lift our young people and repair some damage from this past community. That is what has hurted us in the past. We got damage done in this community because we bought into the fast process of dealing with crime. So we had young people charged, moved from misdemeanor to felony accounts. For misdemeanor charges, this is real. And so now those young men can't be productive members of our community. So we need the police, but we have to admit, I think, that we didn't start off crime, and we got to repair some damage. Thank you.
Thank you, and I like the fast cooking analogy too. I'd like to get that one. And I'll tell you what, we've come a long way, and we want to continue our forward momentum. So I appreciate your comments. And I think we'll make it, since we're a little past time, but I wanted everybody to have a chance, we'll make you the last speaker, but I don't want to end with that. A lot of times after we end the formal part of the meeting, we still have informal conversations. So if you didn't get a chance to say anything, he'll still be available for one-on-ones.
Thank you. I'm Tasia Stagg. Next week will mark the 5-year anniversary of when the family next door began stalking me. My life should be better than ever these days, and instead my quality of life is shameful. The default without special effort is for less than 1% of stalking cases to be recognized and prosecuted. This is such a common, established problem nationwide that a federally funded project exists to train stakeholders, including law enforcement, in hopes of improving performance. It's called the Stalking Awareness, Prevention, and Resource Center, and they provide trainings for free. It just needs to be requested. I'm reasonably certain the TPD has not stopped training. What would have to happen for you to seize this free opportunity for quality enforcement?
Thank you. We'll be happy to pair you up with somebody afterwards, because we'd like to get the resources you have to see if it's something we don't already have. So did you didn't realize you were saying that both of you two were? All right, so we'll make you two the last two then. I didn't know if you were waiting.
Good evening. My name is Keela McCaskill, National Advocate in East Tampa. I moved to East Tampa from South Tampa. The goal was to become a development advocate in the area. So when I left South Tampa from East Tampa 2 years ago, I was saddened by seeing so many people living in fear. Taxpaying citizens, not just people, tax-paying citizens living in fear. So it concerned me so much that I began to knock on doors of some of the business owners, because I realized this is an issue that the police not going to be able to solve, not fast enough for me. With the recent deaths and tragedy happening so fast in so many different areas, I feel like people tonight there should have been a sense of urgency. So I began knocking on doors of these neighborhoods. Hey guys, you might do something different. So I went to owners along Nebraska who's also compassionate. They don't want to see people die. I want to know from the police, if I'm knocking on doors, I'm knocking on neighborhoods, hey, what you could do different. We got to do something out of the box to show people that we're acting with a sense of urgency. We've been doing the same thing over and over again. What could be done differently from you? My second thing, or what could be done differently from your opinion? Like what else could we do? We're already knocking on doors, we're trying to find people cooperating. Telling you what's happening is one thing you're asking for, but what else could be done as an out-of-the-box approach to make a difference so these people feel better when they go to sleep at night? Second, you mentioned nonprofits that you were working with for the youth. I feel like, and this is no pun intended, whatever they're doing, get some receipts. They just need some benchmarks in place. You should be able to ask them for this. So really, how many people could you help? What was the impact? Did they take you receipts? Find some nonprofits. In addition to that, I want to say that I think you should add an economic development component, some kind of nonprofit that will teach them something more than being good at school. Maybe they need a job, or if they're a fellow, maybe they could be entrepreneurs. Some organization that can help them actualize that. I think it was too different. So, thank you.
Great points, thank you. And one of the things that I've challenged all of our commanders to do is to get more neighborhood watch troopers. We're getting more people involved in an existing neighborhood watch troop. And one of the things that we do is we look and see where hotspots of crimes are, and we see, is there a neighborhood watch troop in there? If there is it active? If there isn't, what can we do to get one up and going? So that's something right away. And then what you said resonated with me is because we used to have block patrol, and we used to have shirts out there. Of course, there was some incidents across the nation that we had to re-explore that. But that's still something to consider is empowering our neighborhood watch troops more to be our eyes and ears. So that is an initiative of ours. So if you're not currently in a neighborhood watch troop, please stay out forward, see Officer Baker back there. We will get you involved in one that's in your area that you may or may not know about, or if there's not one in your area, we're looking for somebody to help us start one up. So thank you. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak after the time this. And I do appreciate you guys coming out and hosting this event here tonight. And instead of the local, because it seems like East Tampa is basically what we get in a lot of the issues. A lot of the problems that are basically coming from this area. I worked for the city of Tampa also for 38 years also, okay? And I've seen a lot of things that have changed, and have changed for the worst, okay? One thing a lot of times we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, how can we find ways to solve the problem? Can we also be part of the solution also? A lot of times we need everybody to work together. We need officers, okay, to help us out. I work for the Parks and Recreation Department also, okay? And one thing I want to tell you guys is this. I'm a little disappointed, okay, on how things have transpired in the last 10 years with the city of Tampa, okay? Back in the days, when we used to have, first of all, we closed too many parks. And you close too many parks, what happened to those areas? They're going to be what? Generated, they start grabbing those areas. We closed too many areas, and now your job is going to be harder. Okay? Because you guys have to basically get more officers to do at those crime areas. The Parks and Recreation, as well also, I and me, I might say, before we used to have 150 kids, 200 kids in our centers all over the city. Okay? Now, if you look at our centers, sometimes you have more staff than kids. I'll tell you why. We had an administration about 10 years ago, and this is what we got to be careful also. Who actually we put in place to make these decisions, and what effect it's going to have on the long haul. Back 10 years, 2011, we had an administrator who basically decided to take all the teenagers, by the time they turn 13, they go on the streets. They're going to come back to the parks. And you guys know what happened in those years? A lot of crime. That's when it started happening, folks. You guys know? That's when everything was started going for the worst. And the mayor of Buffalo basically decided to come up with the idea was getting the stay in play. After the killing, they have to basically Clay Miller. Okay? The kid, an innocent kid, 12 years old, one with that, the channel right there, they're not in the possible court. That will basically says, you know what, we got to bring our kids back to the park. Okay? Guess what, folks? We brought the kids back to the park, the teenagers, and then we started doing stay in play. All right? But now, this administration is still thinking that they were administration. Right now, if the kids don't have the funding, they're going to come to the park. So what are we doing to those kids? 5-year-olds, 6, 7-year-olds, they're building what? Momentum on the streets. By the time they're actually 10, 11 years old, do you think they're going to go to the center? The damage is done, folks. So what we need to look at ourselves in the picture and say, you know what? How can we solve these problems? How can we make your job easier? Okay? Honestly, me especially, folks, honestly, I've been here for 30 years, a long, long time. One thing that I do is solve the problem. I work at Warren Park. Everybody knows Warren Park. One of the highest high crime areas in the city. Right? So I said, you know what, for this one I'm going to do. I'm going to start investing my money into those areas. I started buying houses. Okay? I started basically buying those houses, beat up home, to make basically, and then what I started doing was getting those teenagers and put them to work. Building, building the houses, fixing homes, that's up to cutting grass. That's, you know what they call me over there? They call me Pop. Everybody call me Pop. Why? Because when they see me, they know, hey, I'm there for them. In fact, guys, when I started going park, each corner, 54 and 53rd, in both sides, every corner we had drug lines. Drugs. Everything was like, listen, come on, everybody was picking up the drugs. It was like a shopping area, picking up drugs. Thank God that I was able, with the help of the other administration also helping me out too, that we made this change. But now this is the problem, folks, once again. Okay? Who are the people that we put in place to help us out? Now, when we started playing, we said, you know what, we need help from the officers.
I believe Johnson, is that your name? Okay. Officer Johnson came up, we sat down with him, but you know what? We need more help. We need to be in the street. We want to circulate with the officers also. He put us some officers to go to the parks, and guess what, folks? We have the more than nicest summer all throughout the city of Tampa. East Tampa, we have some issues, but listen, we minimize it. Because we kept all those teenagers coming to the center. We took them out to the race game, we did some tournaments, we did all different things throughout the city of Tampa. Why? Because we united with Parks and Recreation, with the support of an officer. They came out, this is what thing I do to come together. And we did that. A year later, they said, we're not going to have no more officers because there's no more money. More money for what? Folks, for further, the problem is East Tampa. Why didn't we, basically, let's go to where the problem is at. Okay? I'm going to give you guys a little thing also here. This is how everything is at the got. Okay? March 23rd, 2023. Okay? We had a little basketball game at Jackson Heights. All right? We got a nightmare. A nightmare, okay? Safety. We have people there, we have kids, we have families, all different people there too. We have basically some kids from Jackson Heights jump into the center and beat up one of the staff in the gym, okay? Also beat up another kid also, all right? Beat up 2 kids. Guns. I was actually the doctors they go now. It was the kid right there inside our gym. Okay? Thank God that the clip came off. Now, this is what I'm disappointed. I made a call. I made a call at 7:20 to the officer, the station 23 right here. 45 minutes later, by 8:15, but after everything had happened, now one of our kids, one of our staff members, ran for his life. He got shot out outside, they started shooting us. Okay? He's afraid to go to the city now. He's afraid. Okay? He's afraid. So, a year later, I talked to the administration. We had detectives, we had everybody there. And you guys know up to this day, nothing has been done. We got cameras. There have been no arrests, there have been nothing being done. So you think us as officers, said, you know what, wait a minute, what have we done to fix that problem? Nobody did nothing about it. It took most of it now. We got people right now, they don't want to go to the gym because they're afraid for their life. Okay, guys? So like I said, we got to find a solution, okay? And we're going to come to work together. I'm pretty sure you turned this over here. The problem is East Tampa. We have now too many kids to go into the streets, okay? I think the mayor needs to take notice. I think Parks and Recreation needs to allow more kids to go to the center. And if that the funding, yeah, and that's fine. They give more like a grant money, $20 basically, but not everybody gets a grant money. And this is another one that we have also. The kids that live in the area, they don't have the money. The kid comes from the county, they will have access because they got the money. So what are we turning this into more? We're turning this right now to more for a social work. If you got money, you come to our centers. If you don't have no money, you stay out. And then what we're doing is we're taking those kids and put them to the street, and then you guys can have the headache in your hands.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Great points. And I'll tell you, if there's any takeaways before we bring this meeting to a close, is one is our PAL program. This summer's coming up, right? There's going to be kids out this summer. What can we do to keep them busy? Our PAL program has increased and enhanced. We've added more officers and more funding that was approved in the budget last year. So please encourage that. And talking about funding, we have grants available for putting community members there and youth there. So there's plenty of avenues. And the other is us working together and getting us, like Major Messmer said, the information we need to make those arrests. Because trust me, we lay awake at night too, and we want to close these cases out. This is our community. And I'll tell you, every one of these police officers, not just Eva, but in the entire department, will give their life to protect this community. And if you didn't know, what we're wearing on our band is for tomorrow is National Police Memorial Day. And I'll tell you what, there's not any one of our officers here that wouldn't hesitate to make the ultimate sacrifice to make this community safer. And we have 32 names on our memorial. We don't ever want to see any more. But if that decision came down to it, there's not any officer here that wouldn't step up. We're dedicated to this community. It's our home. and we want to work together to make Tampa safer together. So I'm going to have Pastor Cleet Sutton come up, give us a closing, and then feel free to come approach us afterwards, get our phone numbers, exchange information.
Lord, we thank you tonight for this meeting. We thank you for this community. We thank you for this staff. Lord, give us traveling mercy as we go to the various destinations. Oh God, we ask that you keep our police officers safe and just see in this county and our nation. We just thank you for this time of fellowship. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.